Ladies and gentlemen, right after this segment, I will have another very important segment on the nuclear confrontation and stock market crash channel. Everything that I've been saying since September of 2021 is happening, and so that's my third segment on that channel today. Every time you see something here on H.A. Goodman of almost 200,000 subs, subscribe there. Subscribe here, definitely subscribe, and also watch the Nuclear Confrontation and Stock Market Crash channel right after this segment. I'll also have a segment on the Bitcoin 10K, oil prices 150 recession channel. We're seeing oil well over $100 like I said it would be, and the recession we're seeing, I've been talking about that since September of 2021. DOJ won't prosecute late show staffers for capital trespassing. That's Axios. The Department of Justice is declining to prosecute CBS, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert crew members who were arrested for unlawful entry and trespassing at the U.S. House office buildings last month. The Capitol Police said in a statement on Monday that they were informed the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia is declining to prosecute the case. This, along with people who want a great economy and a great foreign policy, is the reason half of the electorate will vote for former President Donald Trump. When people say, oh, you know Trump, he told his supporters to overthrow democracy. And these people are dripping. It's so nauseating. They're dripping with this slimy indignation. They're oozing with this sanctimonious, apoplectic, almost always hysterical kind of condemnation and judgment. And they're just so self-righteous and so full of themselves. The arrogance, the hubris is unbelievable whenever they talk about Trump and how horrible he is and how he's undermining democracy and how we should prevent him from running. I mean, the people who claim to uphold democracy want to prevent a man who got almost half the electorate to vote for him. Okay? This is the reason when the DOJ plays favorites. And were they were they engaged in some kind of criminal act? No. Were there more criminal endeavors, clashes with police? Yeah. It was a terrible day. Trump's supporters lost their lives, especially one woman who was unarmed. An unarmed woman. Okay? But the DOJ won't prosecute late show staffers because Stephen Colbert is an extension of the Democratic Party. The DOJ plays favorites. So did Strzok and McCabe and Comey and Clapper and Brennan. An outgoing Republican administration spent the last months in office investigating an incoming Republican. And they accused Trump of things he never did. And then guess what? Journalists and the Washington Post and others got Pulitzer Prizes. For what? We don't know. There was one story they got a Pulitzer Prize for. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had already looked at Michael Flynn's phone call with Sergei Kislyak. They had already known exactly what was stated, and Michael Flynn was never indicted for communicating with an ambassador. Assange was never indicted for publishing anything linked to for conspiring with foreign intelligence officials. He was never indicted. Nobody was charged with the Mueller probe special counsel for working or conspiring or colluding alongside foreign intelligence officials. It never happened. It never happened. Otherwise, in a court of law, you would have had a publisher or an American citizen or somebody in Trump's government actually indicted for working alongside an intelligence official of another country, which is what he was accused of doing. They got Flynn for allegedly lying to Peter Strzok, who was then eventually fired because he literally texted, "We'll stop Trump." These people were biased. They set up and framed Trump, and the reason Sussman wasn't convicted in the Durham probe special counsel is because nobody believed that Baker, Comey's legal counsel, was ever duped or deceived, which is a strategic mistake by Durham that he'll fix almost certainly within the next trial on October 11th. You can't say that the Bureau was duped. They were in on it. Everybody wanted to set up and frame Trump, which is another reason half the electorate will vote for Trump. When people say, how could you ever vote for Trump? Well, anyone who asks that question has almost always purged themselves of any supporters of Trump. So you have these people who are morally superior, highly educated, liberal Democrats. Oh, they're such good people. And they opine and they bemoan the Dobbs decision and reversal of Roe, and they should look in the mirror. When they cheated Bernie Sanders, they could have won. Even though I support Trump and I support DeSantis, they could have won at that moment in time in 2016. They would have had 3 liberal justices. You would have never have had any like a peep of indignation or unhappiness or discontent. They would have had 3 liberal justices, and they would have said, "Oh my God, the Supreme Court, a pillar of democracy." Now they want to do away with it. They don't have a set value system. They cheat Bernie Sanders. They then get 3 conservative justices, but they got it because they cheated Bernie Sanders. Sorry, not everyone's going to fall in line when they know a political party is the most corrupt political party. One of the most corrupt political parties in the history of politics. Literally running a primary that's basically the preordained. The person that they want is just preordained. There's no meritocracy, and it's completely like a fixed, performance art. It's basically a theatrical performance, the Democratic primary. These are the people who opine and pontificate about democracy. But here you have people who were in unlawful, they were arrested for unlawful entry, and they were arrested for trespassing, which is what most of these supporters of Trump were arrested for, or people, they're supporting Trump on that fateful day. Now, again, you have such hypocrisy. Half the electorate will always vote for Donald Trump because you had an entire summer of $1 to $2 billion in property damage. Now, I agree with the cause of why people were protesting and demonstrating, but you have $1 to $2 billion in property damage, 19 lives lost according to Wikipedia, 14,000 arrests. Then you have, fast forward a year and a half or so, 7 or 8 Stephen Colbert staffers. And Stephen Colbert he's not even a comedian anymore. And even like Jimmy Kimmel, these people aren't comedians. They were Democratic operatives who happen to dabble in comedy here and there. But they're like malicious and petulant. Like could you imagine like if the roles were reversed and Biden still has lower favorability ratings than Trump. So I don't get this like media like, Carrie Lake and Herschel Walker and all these people. It's like, no. Herschel Walker is an icon, a legendary Georgia Bulldog and Heisman Trophy winner, and he's an icon and a legend in Georgia. Okay? Especially for people over 40, people over 35. Especially for people over 40 years old. Let's put it that way. He is a beloved, person in Georgia. And he's somebody who's accomplished a great deal, not just on the football field, but also in business, but also in life. And he's an inspiration, Herschel Walker. And so people say, well, you know what? The new theme now is, the Trump candidates are not very good. They might lose the Senate. It's like, well, you're going to have, if you're voting for Senate and you vote for Democrats in the Senate, you must love recession. You must love high gas prices because it's directly the fault of the Democratic Party. And I wrote about that in the Federalist. You must love a stock market crash too and a horrible foreign policy. You must love all of these wonderful things. At least Trump isn't tweeting, I guess. But read my article in the Federalist. It's in the pinned comment and description. But Carrie Lake, you have Herschel Walker, you have others endorsed by Trump who actually promote enthusiasm. The media is appalled by, their repeating Trump's lies, but the lies of the establishment, it was one of the greatest lies ever told in American political history, get Pulitzer Prizes. Trump never was installed, nor did he ever work with another country. The McCarthy era made its way back in with the Democratic Party. And again, this is why half the electorate will vote for Trump always, because the system he's going up against, even if you don't like his personality, is utterly corrupt. It's an utterly corrupt system, devoid of any moral compass. Trump is infinitely more moral and just and, civil than the people who won Pulitzer Prizes on fake and false and partisan and contrived and fabricated stories about Michael Flynn. Again, they won a Pulitzer Prize on one story pertaining to Flynn when Flynn was he should never have been indicted to begin with, because those, as we've seen when Democrats get indicted, those interviews weren't recorded. We have no clue. The people who said that he lied were eventually fired from the FBI. McCabe, Strzok, Comey. So they set up and framed Flynn. The biggest mistake Trump made was, in a way, turning his back and saying, okay, we're gonna, basically kind of turning his back on Flynn. That he shouldn't have done that. But this whole nonsense, he lied to Pence. Who cares if he lied to Pence? What did Pence lie about? Probably a lot of things. Who cares? These politicians lie to each other all the time. In the course of any administration, do you think everyone within Trump's administration, within President Obama's administration, got along? My God. And so they're like, oh, he lied to Pence, and therefore he was at risk of being compromised by the Kremlin. What? He wasn't ever indicted on that. And the Bureau already had transcripts of his call, and the New York Times and Washington Post already said that his call was already looked at by the Bureau. But again, the hysteria, it's unbelievable. That's why half the electorate will always vote for former President Trump. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel. I'll be back in a couple of hours on this channel, and also subscribe to the Bitcoin, to the stock market crash and nuclear confrontation channel. I have a segment right on there right now, so go there right now. It's below in the